Just as it exits the black hole, the Enterprise D is attacked by the Romulan ship that disappeared from earlier. Lucky for them, there is an Oberth-class science ship on hand to destroy it. Cochrane was also rescued by the Enterprise D this time around, and unfortunately, dies. And in a scene straight out of Back to the Future, Picard receives a letter from Captain Kirk. In addition to that, there is also an explanation as to why Picard never mentioned this incident to Kirk or Scotty. It's not a very good one, but at least they gave one. Now, the storylines themselves are indicative of their respective eras. The TOS storyline is a little more simpler and a lot more combat-oriented, whereas the TNG storyline is a lot more complex and has a really epic style of conflict. And the use of the Zefram Cochrane plot device actually works pretty well and really intertwines the both of these quite well, even though it is a little outlandish. The Zefram Cochrane presented here is a bit more in line with the Zefram Cochrane shown in Metamorphosis. He is much more intelligent and better-mannered than his film counterpart, and the whole warp drive issue is handled far more realistically. You see, in First Contact, the first warp flight didn't make a whole lot of sense. It seems they went to warp for all of 6 feet and, well, stop afterwards. Here we actually have Cochrane warp out to Alpha Centauri. In fact, in the show, he was referred to as Zefram Cochrane of Alpha Centauri. But in the First Contact film and Star Trek Enterprise, he seemed to spend a lot of time on Earth. Here he actually stays on his bloody planet. The original Enterprise crew all act as you would expect them to, except Kirk. He is a little more arrogant than usual, and he seems to really like his chair for some reason. The Enterprise D crew are also as you would expect, for the most part. There are times when they act a little too helplessly, and it seems like they always need Picard to bail them out. Now, by far, the most annoying character here is the Companion. I don't know if they meant to make her that annoying or not, but still, she is just useless. Probably the most annoying thing about her is her speech issues. You see, she can't simply call Zefram Cochrane Zefram Cochrane. Oh no. She has to call him the Man. Even though, all throughout the novel, she is able to call everyone else by their names, but not Cochrane. I know he basically made the entire Star Trek universe possible, but still, that's no excuse to just call him the Man. In addition to that, when asked if she can still travel through space, she answers, "I am human now. I can travel through space no longer, but I know love." You know, for a trans-sentient energy cloud, the Companion is pretty stupid. He did not ask if she could love or not. He asked, "Can you travel through space? Yes or no?" Nobody really gives a damn if she can love or not, unless she can hook love up to the warp engines. Now, as for the villains, they are unfortunately stock. Thorson is just on a revenge quest, nothing more. And in pursuit of his revenge, he acts more like a Cobra Commander-style villain. Or, in the case of Star Trek, this guy.
It has happened! I watched it happen! I saw it happen! Don't tell me it didn't happen!
Now, in Thorson's case, it makes a little more sense, as by the 24th century, he had pretty much lost all of his humanity and was really nothing more than just a kill program. The Romulans that show up in the TNG story are stock, nothing more, and are killed off accordingly. Although how one is killed off is where we get into the most awesome moment in Trek. Alright, here's the setup. The Enterprise D is under attack by a Dridex-class Romulan warbird. They currently do not have the weapons capability to destroy it, and also they can't run as the warp core is down. When isn't it? So what does Picard do? He orders ramming speed. Quite understandably, both the crew of the Enterprise and the audience are quite taken aback by this. In fact, Worf starts flipping out because of it, and actually has to be calmed down by Picard. Unfortunately, that is a totally non-canon move, so technically it did not actually happen. However, this story does expand on some previous canon, and in my opinion inspired some portions of Trek XI. This is actually one of the earlier pieces of media that actually explains how the warp drive is supposed to work. And it all hinges on what is called the Cochrane Delta. This image here represents faster-than-light travel. So, now you know why Starfleet uses this particular symbol. Now, as to the physics of it, damn it, man, I'm a reviewer, not a physicist. Also, I have to say that the whole Nero v. Spock plotline had to have been inspired by Star Trek Federation, as it closely mirrors the Thorson v. Cochrane plotline. Think about it. Nero nursed a grudge against Spock, a grudge that was fairly poorly written, but a grudge nonetheless, and went through a black hole in an attempt to kill him. Same way with Thorson and Cochrane. Thorson pursued him for over 3 centuries, and eventually went through a black hole in an attempt to kill him. Now, it's on the issue of the black holes that we actually get into the major plot holes of this novel. Now, before we get to the black holes, let's first take a look at Kirk's age issues. At the time of the Enterprise B, he is supposed to be in his 60s. So why does he feel that his journey is coming to an end? I would imagine that Sulu is probably the same age, but yet he is still commanding the Excelsior. So why does Kirk think that he's already too old to keep commanding a starship? And really, Kirk was one of the youngest captains in Starfleet. Most officers don't even get a command until they're at least that old. And look at Picard. I know it's the 24th century, but still, he was supposed to be in his 70s. Another problem is that World War III is very, very much downplayed. The novel said that only, and I use that term loosely, 38 or so million died, which is vastly different from the 600 million dead in the First Contact film. One would imagine that if this was a global nuke war, that there would be considerably more casualties than 38 million. That, and also it is mentioned that they have access to antimatter. So why use nukes at all? As for the black holes, they make absolutely no sense at all. The main thing that doesn't make sense is this. Cochrane enters during the 23rd century. Thorson is in a ship outside the black hole, and leaves after some time, but in the 24th century he goes back to the black hole, because that is when Cochrane's ship should be leaving the black hole. In addition to that, it's stated at the very end that both Enterprises are still in the black hole, even though they're not anymore.
Are you actually suggesting they're from the future?
If you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
Shut it, Xenoscum! No other novel is really able to mix both crews so well. And really, I think it's mainly because here, at no time do they really talk or interact with one another. And even then, at the end, they don't actually talk to each other, they just help each other escape. And I think keeping both treks separate like this is a good thing. It means that they are both on equal footing, and neither crew is actually in a position where it's superior to the other. It's just both crews of the Enterprise doing what they do best. Now, I highly recommend this novel to casual Star Trek fans, as you don't have to know anything from the Star Trek Expanded Universe. Even though I use the term Expanded Universe loosely, as most Expanded Universe works don't really have anything to do with one another. Now really, this novel acts like you would expect the TV show to act. Picard and Kirk do the things they did in the TV show, and by extension their crews. All of the events occur like you would expect from the TV show. So in all reality, this is like a Star Trek movie that will never be made. Now for next time, I am going to be reviewing Doom Knee Deep in the Dead by Daffy Dab Hugh and Brad Lineweaver. But for now, this is General Watts wishing you good Star Trek Titan. Good Star Trek Dreadnought. Or whatever makes you happy.
Here's to the finest crew in Starfleet. Engage. Captain,